Right, so, remember that video that I made a couple days ago talking about 2xKO and the brand new updates that we were going to be receiving? Right. We're back. It's time to make another video. It's time to talk a little bit more about 2xKO because we just received a 57-minute video. Yes, 57 minutes of nothing but pure content and pure information in regards to the future of 2xKO. Strap in because it is going to be a lot to cover. I'm going to try and make this as condensed as possible, trying to go through every single point and basically breaking down as much as I possibly can in regards to what had happened within the 2xKO summary video, just so that, you know, it's easier for people to digest.
Gun got a sensor, I can see him as a heat dot. Give me a signal, then he'll go missing. Whoa! What? Finish the mission. I want my soldier with a fight. You know what that's a destroy. Oh, that's a killing night. That's how I got this little boy. I want my soldier with a fight. You know what that's a
If you like what you see, give us a like, give us a sub, you know, check us out on all social media as well, all linked in the description below. But you can also go ahead and check out the Discord for 2xKO's EU scene, known as Run It Down Mid. I'll have a link for that in the description as well if you're from the EU scene. Alright, let's get down to business. Let's talk about pretty much everything that we already know in regards to 2xKO. Now, as we know, the full release and the full launch of this game is coming out in this year. We know that it is slated for a full release in 2025, but what changes have these guys made between Alpha Lab 1 and Alpha Lab 2 that have made this game seem a lot more polished? Well, let's first talk about the controls of 2xKO. Yep, so 2xKO had an overhaul to an extent in regards to some of its controls. For example, its launcher and anti-air stuff. For example, as we all remember, you know, back in Alpha Lab 1, whenever you wanted to do your launcher, it was down, forward, heavy, I believe, in order to get a launcher right off of a combo, but players thought that that would be a little bit too difficult. Now, me personally, you know, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I personally really like the down, forward, heavy input, personally, but it's going to be a little bit different because now they're going straight for a down and heavy approach, which is going to double up as both launchers and anti-airs for every single character in the game. An interesting change, and I'm very interested to see how that's going to work. I'm personally not too big of a fan of it because, again, it feels a little too simple now, but we'll see. In any case, not only did they change that, but they also changed the way that supers are being done. Yep, that's right, supers no longer require you to hit a down input. Instead, this time around, we just have to use button combinations. If I'm not mistaken, S1 and S2 can be pressed together for your ults, and S1 plus light, medium, and heavy, or it's S2 plus light, medium, and heavy. Might have to double check that, but this time around it makes execution in terms of getting your supers in a lot more easier for newer players that are looking to get into the game, you know, especially with Alpha Lab 2 pretty much around the corner, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So that covers pretty much all the basic things that are going on with the controls, or at least the two biggest factors that are being thrown into you know, Alpha Lab 2 with the controls. Let's move on to our next topic. In terms of our next big change, let's talk about the gameplay variety and the decision making in 2xKO. Now, obviously, as we all know, 2xKO is a 2v2 tag fighter, and it is hella fun. And as we all know, they've also incorporated something called fuses. And fuses basically are perks that are given to your team and your characters in order to make them work a certain way. Every single perk and fuse actually allows you to have a very different playstyle depending on what one you choose. Obviously, as we know, there are a ton of different ones within the game. I don't know if you guys also remember the Pulse fuse, the one that allowed you to do auto combos. Yeah, that's not necessarily being a fuse anymore. In fact, they've taken that out as an option and instead make it a toggleable option. If you go into the character select screen and choose your characters, you can actually toggle whether or not you want the option for auto combos to be on. So instead of it being a fuse, you can actually just have it as a default controller option, which we did talk about in the last video. If you haven't already seen it, you can go ahead and check it out. I'll put that also in the description as well. But it's really interesting to see that you now now have given the players more versatility, and it's a lot more easier and making it a lot more simple for players to get more involved and get more hands-on with auto combos. It is certainly a lot more interesting, and it should allow and welcome a brand new audience of players to 2xKO. Now, moving on, there are 2 completely brand new fuses that are being added into the game in preparation for the next Alpha Lab coming out later in April. But before we get onto the release date of that, let's talk a little bit more about these 2 brand new fuses and how they work in a team dynamic. First one is being called Sidekick. Now, obviously, it is basically how the name goes. Say, for example, that you don't like playing point character with another person, for example, and you just want to play support, and, you know, that's the role that you want to take in a 2-person team. Well, the Sidekick fuse essentially allows you to do that. It enables you to basically use your assists and at the expense of not being able to use that character. So you leave your opponent with, you leave your partner with just the one character to use at point, but the availability to use your support at any given time, which is actually kind of interesting that is actually the case. Same, very, very similar stuff with the Juggernaut fuse that is being introduced as well. It allows you to play with one character with enhanced abilities and superpowers. So what's really interesting about that is you once again have another fuse that lets you kind of have one player be the center of attention, and you get the opportunity to play with one solo character, except just like in other tag fighters, let's take Skullgirls for example, whenever you play with a solo character, you get a ton of buffs to your health and your defense. With the Juggernaut one, for example, I believe if you are less than 30% in terms of your health, you get a very big health boost, I believe, as well as also a pretty decent defense boost too. So it does cater to players who feel like they want to play with just that one character, or feel who are a lot more comfortable with just that one character, or even in the case of obviously using the Sidekick for 2v2 situations or scenarios where one player feels a lot more comfortable being your support. That is genuinely something that players can look forward to using a lot more, and it balances out, especially when you're playing against somebody with, say, a fuse and 2 players on hand and deck as well. So that is another brand new balancing option that they decided to put in to cater to players who love being in the spotlight and those players that love to be in the backline as well. Now, obviously, I'm not going to plan to cover all 57 minutes of content. Again, if you want to go ahead and check that out, I will put a card up at the top of the video, or again, a link to the original video in the description, so you can go ahead and check out a little bit more of the news in regards to what we've just recently got. But in terms of what we are looking forward to seeing, again, Jinx, we got a good look at Jinx. We finally got a good look at her moveset and basically what she does. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail in regards to that. You can go ahead and check that out as well. But we've gotten a much more extended look at Jinx. Again, she's a very setup heavy character with a ton of incredible combos and mix-up potential as well. She looks incredibly fun. I'll definitely be giving her a go and trying to play her as much as I can whenever I get my hands on the Alpha Lab. But it's unfortunate for my EU friends, because we're going to have to delve into some details in regards to Alpha Lab 2. In regards to Alpha Lab 2, it comes out extremely soon. We are looking at a date of April 18th to the 20th, which is just 3 days long. Obviously considerably shorter than the playtest that we had in August, which is a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now here comes the more heartbreaking news for, again, my EU brethren and anybody else within the EU area, or even further out beyond. The playtest is only going to be available to those living in the US, Brazil, and Canada. And that's it. You cannot have any access to it during this time period if you are outside of these regions. However, obviously, if you live in the US, Canada, and or Brazil, you can go ahead and sign up as well for the Alpha Lab playtest, which, again, it is a little unfortunate, but hey, what can we do? It is what it is. Hopefully we'll get some sort of playtest coming down the line for EU players, and I'm pretty sure maybe we may get something. I don't think they've forgotten about us, right? I hope not. But yeah, that's going to be practically it for this video. Again, a lot longer than I thought it would have been, but it was a blast to cover. 57 minutes plus of just pure 2xKO content, a lot of quality of life changes, and once again, if you really want to go into depth and check out some of the stuff that is actually being said in this video, but on top of that, just for a little bit more clarification's sake, what they said in their video, again, link in the description below. Go ahead, follow us on all of our socials. If you like what you see, go ahead, give us a like, give us a sub. Let me know what your thoughts are on the brand new changes in terms of controls and various other things in regards to 2xKO, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.